Hey everybody, welcome to Downballot Roundup in partnership with Leave No Dem Behind, where I introduce you to Democratic candidates running in local elections throughout the country. I'm Bryan Randolph, and today I am here with Sonja Mentzer, who is running for South Dakota House to represent District 11. Hello, Sonja. It's great to have you here today. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. It's absolutely great to have you. Why don't we start by telling me a little bit about you?
Let's see. Born and raised in small town South Dakota. I've been in Sioux Falls, South Dakota's largest city, for over 20 years, living in the same western Sioux Falls. Raising my family and working here, and loving Sioux Falls.
Excellent. All right. And tell me a little bit about District 11.
District 11, I'm going to show you a quick map. Here's Sioux
Okay.
Falls, and
All
District
right.
11 is the small green area. Sioux Falls has over like 215,000 people. District 11 is homes, schools, churches, and roughly just over 17,000 registered voters.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm guessing you've been out there talking to them. What are the issues that people in District 11 are telling you about? What's bothering people?
Um, Overwhelmingly, since July, when I started knocking doors, I've heard childcare and I've heard housing. But childcare is easily the biggest concern brought up at the doorsteps.
Healthcare is a
Just
big one.
yeah, uh, just we've had a lot of we've we've had a lot of daycares close during the pandemic that never opened up, and we've had a lot of centers close in the last year or two, and just understaffed and a variety of different reasons. And so childcare is a huge problem right now.
What would be something, if you got into the House, what would be something you could do to fix that problem?
I think there's several things that we can look at to do from a state level. I think we can add some more incentives for some of those in-home daycares to maybe start up again. I think we can do more for parental assistance to some low-income families to help pay for centers that they maybe couldn't have before, or offering more in the terms of, say, grants, maybe to, one-time grants to some of those centers or state certified or in-home daycares for when they need that fence replaced or different things that we're not having to put those costs on to the parents.
And what was the other one was housing, right? How about that? What's a good way to deal with housing issues?
I think there's kind of a complex or a lot of different reasons why housing is, kind of where it's at. And Sioux Falls has been growing, and it's still been a seller's market for 10 plus years. And I think there's probably more things maybe at the city level and some different things that maybe what the state can do, um, as far as housing goes.
That's
I
okay.
think the state could do some incentives to try to incentivize developers or landlords for some of the subsidized housing programs and some of these things that has a wait list here in Sioux Falls of 2 plus years.
What is something that you and your opponent differ on issue-wise?
Um, Easily, it's going to be on abortion. Um, that's on the ballot here in South Dakota this year. I'm running for House, so there's two open positions. My opponent's on the Republican side. One of them was in the legislature 20 years ago and put the very strict trigger ban we have on the books 20 years ago. So only allows up to 6 weeks. No exceptions for rape and incest or medical conditions or anything else. And both of my Republican opponents have said that it's fine as is. We don't need to have a conversation about exceptions or easing any of the, I want to say, gray or vague area about when a doctor can step in.
Okay. So at what point did you feel like you needed to run for office? Like what drove you to this?
There was a lot of things. And I think it was ultimately just frustrated with being frustrated. Too many headlines, too much not being addressed in our state capital. Um, you know, and even back to abortion. When I watched Idaho vote 2-1 in their legislature to not save the life of the mother, I could only think of the similarities between Idaho and South Dakota when it comes to their very supermajority Republican legislature and government, that this could it doesn't take too much to think that might happen here.
So the abortion issue's been around for a while, and I'm wondering whether it's been a long term, it's been a conservative talking point. But I feel like people are shifting. Do you think it was, are people shifting, or did Roe just kind of wake people up, or the Dobbs, I guess, sort of wake people up to the possibility and kind of getting to know what the situations are that really could occur?
I think a lot of people were I think it woke people up. I think a lot of people who've never had to deal with that in their personal lives just never got invested or to know more about it. So the idea that for 50 years we have well documented cases of abortions actually decreasing over 50 years, or that 86% of abortions are being done for medical reasons, either mother or fetus. So I think a lot of people they don't know this. And I think that we're hearing a lot of stuff about these healthy 9 month, abortions happening. And that's just not the case, and right now they're kind of spinning a bunch of lies about 14-year-olds being able to get abortions without parental consent and things like this, trying to on the opposing side. And realistically, what we have to worry about is all of the close calls and, miscarriage, basically mismanagement or being turned away. And we heard of another case out of Texas today of a mom dying because of miscarriage care.
Oh, that's terrible. Do you feel like the tides are shifting a little bit? People are starting to move on the issue?
I hope so. I think there is definitely a lot of education that, all around, and we're having those discussions, which is good because I don't think a lot of people, like I said, were before, or at least finding out the exceptions, finding out some facts, listening to some of the debates, with it being on the ballot. We're hearing from both sides. So I think it's great that we're having this conversation. I just wish we were having this conversation 2 years ago when it actually got overturned and we could have done something in the beginning.
All right, so we've come to my last question. It's my favorite question. I call it my softball question. I would like you to tell me something about District 11 that makes it special to you.
Uh, First of all, District 11 is super special to me. Like I said, I've been here for over 20 years. This is where I've raised my children. This is where my friends live. This is where my community is. This is where we have, so many neighborhoods have their annual block party and we go trick or treating. And this is where we play sports and go to church and have community. I've got two children, a 20-year-old son who's an active U.S. Marine and a teenage daughter who's a junior in high school. This is where our memories are. This is where I plan to continue to live. So I want the best for other families living down the block who are raising their kids too.
Sonja Mentzer is running for the South Dakota House in District 11. Thank you so much for being here tonight. This was wonderful.
Thank you so much for having me.